Today in this video, we're going to be breaking down a plus 20 Floodgate from my Brewmaster's point of view, talking about what went right, what went wrong, and everything in between. So enjoy the video. Now, I wasn't originally going to do a lot more, if any more, commentaries for the season, but this was I'm very proud of this run that we were able to get done. And Floodgate's coming back next season, so it's kind of still going to be relevant. So here we are playing a double Outlaw Rogue Arms Warrior with the Resto Shaman. Of course, I'm on the Brewmaster, and we're actually doing something kind of unique. We are heading right to Big Mama first. This was originally a strategy we used to just kind of practice Big Mama, or to make sure we got through the hardest part of the dungeon, because Big Mama tended to be the wipe condition for us, whether it was a tank death, DPS dying, swirls being weird, kill-a-block barriers going on too long. There's a lot of things that can go kind of sideways on this boss. So what we do is we pull it kind of next to this generator here, using it almost to stop some of the charges. Now, of course, some of the Doomstorms still charge further out, but as you can see, some of the Doomstorms are a lot shorter path, leaving them in melee range of both the DPS players as well as myself, and even in the healing range for that extra little bit of damage from our Shaman as well. So the name of the game is Dodge Swirls, use defensives. I opened up with Dampen of Harm, Weapons of Order got rolling, and then I committed a trinket. I'm running Ring Ritual Mud. Very strong trinket in the season. I find that the defensive trinket is really good in a couple of dungeons, but specifically when you're playing Shado-pan, without having like an extra Celestial Brew or more self-healing, having a big absorb you can kind of hit off the global is super, super nice. Here comes the first damage burn. Unfortunately, ideally, you have like a nice big Shado-pan proc for shadow damage, but unfortunately I did proc dodge, so I'm not going to really get anything during this burn, but we're going to make up for it later. Our goal is to be around the 3 mil DPS mark, with the rest of our DPS obviously doing whatever they can. So this is a strategy that was kind of, I guess, globalized, I don't know the right word, for most groups. So what you do is you pull Big Mama next to this wall, and based on where the mecha drones are positioned, sometimes their swirls just straight up won't show up based on the way that they're dashing. And sometimes they'll end before they can actually go into the wall, since the new circle can't actually path there. So they stop. And so this does two things. It keeps the mob stacked really, really, really nicely. But it also generally will also reduce the amount of damage and the amount of movement that your group does have to do. Now, there are sometimes stray swirls. Sometimes they get out of position when people have to run out with the sonic boom. So it's kind of rough to do this strategy. And as you noticed before, the purple mecha drone, and that's why it's so high health, it like flew out and then stayed out there for a long period of time, just casting shoot over and over again, which did frustrate us, but it's not a big deal. So if you have too many phases like this, where you're just sitting in this kilo-block barrier, it can be problematic. Luckily, this is the only kilo-block that's actually going to last for a long period of time. We got a nice big lag spike there because lots of animations going on, and the link gets committed. So now we are kind of entering the third phase of the fight, I guess, or the third phase one. I don't have Dampen, but I will have Black Axe Brew coming up. I'm getting Fortified Brew procs. I still have Zen Med and Diffuse, and I'm going to have access to my trinket here shortly. So I should be feeling fairly tanky. Now, once again, we are doing kind of up against this wall here. Again, based on the mecha drone's position, they may or may not be able to dash to us. As you can see here, you'll see the weak aura on my screen that says swirls, but if you look, there aren't any swirls on the ground, so that means that we're going to be safe. I think at some point we do get a swirl here. It actually hits both me and Walks, which ended up, thank God rogues don't die, but this is why we went to Big Mama first, because this happened a lot in our runs that we were practicing in, where, you know, we kind of get into the zone of being like, oh, we don't really have to move, and then randomly a swirl would appear under our feet, we wouldn't be paying attention, and we would, die. So sub 30% before the next burn is really, really good. Our goal is to get like sub 400 mil, so we can just tunnel and not have to worry about anything here. The ads are about to die. Using Touch of Death offensively, both to obviously reduce your stagger, but also deal damage and get a damage boost with Fatal Touch during this phase is really, really important. And then luckily right before there, I also had a shadow damage proc. So unfortunately, I think it procced actually right before the jumpstart actually started. So not super great. Sub 400 mil is really good. This is a tunnel angle. We've actually tunneled sub 500 mil before and just beat the kilo-block barrier, but it's kind of RNG. Now, we are going to play kind of in this corner, but this corner stair is really scary because you can have mobs snap, the boss can get reset, so definitely be careful. But because we're tunneling, I figured, I'll just hold them out a little bit. It's not going to be a big deal. The circles might still be small, but we're not trying to kill the ads anymore. So, if we don't care if the ads kind of dash out, and then we're going to head to the next pull. Now, one thing I want to note in this run, and a reason why I actually didn't like going to Big Mama in hindsight, is we're all playing Eye of Kazan. And so Eye of Kazan is really, really good if you get 20 stacks for all the bosses. But since we went right to Big Mama first, we spent the majority of the fight accumulating stacks and not being at maximum agility. Now, Kazan is really good because once you get to like the 12, 13 stack range, it becomes equal to a stat stick trinket, but it goes all the way up to 20 stacks. So eventually it's like you're wearing like a trinket and a half worth of main stat value. And obviously main stat scales our damage and our survivability extremely well as a tank. And of course damage and stuff as a DPS. So Kazan is very, very strong in here. And this is a really good Kazan dungeon. And the route we kind of cooked up outside of the Big Mama fiasco is maintaining Eye of Kazan and having high stacks for every other boss and most of the trash pulls throughout here, because we're going to constantly be chain pulling. Another thing that we're trying to keep in mind is that we are playing double outlaw, so any pulls bigger than 8 targets are less efficient when it comes to damage. Luckily, we still have the Arms Warrior, which has uncapped damage, but making sure that we're keeping our pulls a little bit on the smaller side is really going to be good, but we just want to pull quickly. And Warriors not only have Execute, but they also have like, they get a bonus when they Warbreaker mobs, or I guess, yeah, below the 30% health threshold, or 25 or 35. I don't remember what it is exactly, but basically by chain pulling consistently, he's able to get high amounts of haste, which give him more damage. So once again, we are pulling inspectors, soldiers, and hyenas actually, and this is going to give us those 8 targets that we like to see. We're going to be making sure we're kicking these bloodthirsty cackles. The Enrage ends up actually doing a fair bit of damage if it does go off. Luckily, we are playing Double Soothe if we need to, or if I need it. And I also have access to Paralysis with Pressure Point, so I can always soothe them, de-enrage them, which is good. So 2 soldiers did get came in. Now, this is the idea for this is, like I just talked about with the Warrior, he's going to be able to get consistent haste buffs by utilizing these mobs. So these mobs are now going to be like at half health by the time we start heading up to the next pull. And then we're going to chain maintaining Kazan, giving him haste, and it's all going to be kosher. So these pulls don't really do much. Most of the damage is auto attacks. We're getting applications of this black blood debuff, which needs to be dispelled by your healer. You can also diffuse magic it, but diffuse magic, it's not like, I'm saving diffuse magic for a blood warper and not necessarily to remove a stack that my healer can also just dispel, so not a big deal. Blood Blast here on the Blood Warper is going to be really important. Getting these far contractors in as well, keeping this pull around, again, that 7 to 8 target range, especially when the soldiers get a little bit closer. And we're locking down the reload cast, kicking the Blood Bolt and anything that the sniper casts in terms of trick shots, and just making sure we keep everything kind of locked down. Now, eventually, later on in the pull, our Warrior Carrid is going to taunt Spell Reflect the Blood Warper. This is a really good strategy for DPS warriors to do, but only if you know how to time it right and your tank is aware it's happening. Because if you taunt and then the tank's not aware, you're probably going to get meleeed to death or bolted to death after the Spell Reflect happens. So we commit the link, which is good. This Blood Warper is super scary. If you had noticed, we actually skipped the previous Blood Warper. I believe in our 19, we pulled both of them, but in this route, we have decided the 20 is that point where we need to make sure that we're taking as little damage as possible in these pulls so we can really maximize our damage output. Now, we have a really tanky comp. Arms and Outlaws are very good, so most of the healer's attention is going into me. And then we are gliding down to kind of this like middle area where the second box is. We're getting these loader bots grouped up with the Surveyor. 6 targets again, really kind of good. We're going to wait for the windups to happen here. Once they happen, I'm going to leg sweep, and then we're going to chain. So we want to make sure that the loader bots, especially playing with all melee, they're locked down. So the next time they happen, it's going to be a shockwave, which I'll try to point out. And now we're slowly moving everything over to the Architect. The Architect is going to be basically our kind of funnel target. We're going to use him to kind of drag him around to the different pulls. Shockwave comes out here to stop the second windups. Third windups will be stopped by our Shaman with Cap Totem. It's a little bit trickier to do, but Chicken is a very, very good player. And now I'm going to chain in these hyenas now that some of these other enemies are kind of, falling by the wayside. Cackles are good to kick. Now, this is one little accident. I believe this windup came out, so I backed up to make sure I'm not in range, but I body pulled the extra Surveyor. Now, it's good that I pulled this in, but I wasn't quite ready to do so yet. So this kind of went a little bit sideways. Now, unfortunately, that Surveying Beam went off a little bit. Again, good reactionary play from CL keeping Feint up. I think, honestly, rogues mostly keep Feint up the whole time, but A good heads up play. We got the paralysis on it to lock it down, and now we're sitting here with 5 targets. Now there is a world where I could like grab some of these crabs because they are in our route. I could grab the divers that are patrolling as well. But in this case, we see that the architect is only at 15% health. Lust is going to be coming up in a little bit, and so we're kind of getting ready for the next pull. So I'm not going to pull anything else in because I don't want to be running with it. Now that this pull's going down, we are getting ready to shroud. Now, in an ideal route, when we do this and when we practiced before, normally Lust is already up and we're ready to hit it, but we have 15 seconds still before we can even hit it. So it actually, we are on a crazy fast pace, or I guess it ends up not being actually fast, but it's where you need to be. You want Lust to be coming up here, and the idea for our route is to get 4 Lusts using it on cooldown. So here we are, we're spinning around, we're making sure we're dodging blades and frontals. A lot of the damage here is just going to be auto attacks. Most of it can be healed just through Celestial Brew and things like Plin's Imperial Brew by purifying, waiting for your stagger to get a little bit higher, purifying it off and healing it up. Also, this pull doesn't have loader bots in it, as you may have noticed. Again, we want to keep it to 8 targets. Loader bots also cause a lot of problems for melee specifically. Luckily, we have the stuns through Leg Sweep, Cap Totem, and Shockwave, but we would rather not have to worry about it, if that makes sense. So, and they're also terrible percent-wise. Like, getting them in, if you have a full range comp, they're fine. Like, it's good fodder, it's good funnel, but for this comp specifically, not good. And so, again, and the whole tradition of keeping Kazan rolling, we are jumping right down into the crabs, making sure that we're grabbing the divers as well, and now we are walking with these. Now, this is 5 targets, if you can count. The next pull after this is going to be 3, or I guess like the next group. So we're going to chain it all together. It's going to keep it at 8 targets. Grab the contractors, bring them onto the scaffolding and the architect. Once the scaffolding goes down, we'll be at 8. And then you really want to make sure that the divers are dropping these Sephorium charges away from the architect. And so then I'm moving the architect away a little bit. This gives the rogues room to killing spree without having the fear of, getting blown up. And if they accidentally do pop a mine with killing spree, it won't also pop and kill the rest of our group, which would be kind of problematic. Again, the big things to look out here is just like the harpoon cast. They apply a nasty bleed. They also hook players in, which if there's a bomb underneath could be obviously an issue. And outside of that, it's just making sure the crabs don't blow up at awkward times. Now, there is a trick that I just learned literally like last week, that if the crabs are not touching the ground, I guess, if they're like knocked in either with like Typhoon or Thunderstorm or Ring of Peace, they don't blow up if they're in the air when they die. And so I'm going to showcase this in a little bit. We're going to be actually doing it a couple times in this run. That last pull we didn't, but the next couple pulls we will be. So right now we're just trying to get the architect down. I'm going to grab 2 crabs here just so we can, again, keep those 8 targets in. This is why I love this comp so much. It allows me to constantly chain pull. The warrior's going to benefit from it while still making use of his CDs and his burst damage. The rogues can pump all the time, and I don't have to do anything fucking stupid or crazy where I have to pull 35 mobs and pray that I live like a VDH can. So I love this. I love this comp so much. You could argue it's obviously better with a Feral Druid. Your Rogue will do 3% more damage, your Warrior will do 3% more damage, and you actually have more uncapped. But I think this comp is equally strong when you have such 2 powerhouse rogues playing together. So here we are. We just have the Architect left with the crabs. We're going to showcase the crab knock right now, actually. So once this architect dies, the crabs are low, as you can see. So we're going to thunderstorm them up, and then I'm going to ring them up the stairs. And as you can see, we do not have the debuff from those crabs blowing up because they were thunderstormed and ringed at the same time, or in a subsequent order. And so now we're going to this pull can be kind of dangerous with the multiple flamethrowers, multiple dynamites. So what we're going to do here is we're going to keep it at 5 until the Orange Surveyor's a little bit lower. And then I'm going to chain and pull in the other pack of contractors as well as the Surveyor. So we'll eventually get to 8 targets here, but we just want to make sure that the pull is going well, I guess. So as these saws now come out, I think this is round 4 of saws. I'm going to now back up, make sure I have Breath of Fire active, and then I can start spinning with Charred Passions, making sure I have enough threat. Obviously, when you're playing with 2 rogues, threat is never the problem. Luckily, rogues are extremely tanky through obviously like things like Fate, having high verse. Warriors are extremely tanky as well. So these saws aren't too problematic for us. I do see a lot of clothies or ranged get kind of annihilated if they ever get ticked by them. We're obviously, when you're playing melee, you get used to having to dodge them frequently. So it's not hard to kind of keep damage low, but with a tanky comp like this, it's pretty chill. And now when this pull goes down, we're going to be heading into boss, again, maintaining those Eye of Kazan stacks. Surveyor's going to go down, and we are ready to go in. I give just a second for our rogues to get stealth, and we are pulling, maintaining those 20 stacks as long as we pull within a 3-second window. So this pull, or this boss, I should say, is very problematic for specifically melee comps, because Bront is spending most of the time running around the room. Melee don't really want to chase because they don't want to get stunned, and you want to make sure you're cleaving evenly. But the other problem is like, he also has more health than the other one. So I wish Blizzard did a better job balancing this boss and just giving them like a shared health pool or something. Like, I don't know. A shared health pool I think would just be better. It would still favor range, but at least melee wouldn't feel the need to like chase them around, or like the tank has to pull the bosses away. Anyways, not much to talk about on this fight. Our general rule of thumb is, if you're quick enough at noticing if the gel is targeting you, you can try to pre-position to clear a bomb, but all bombs will ideally be cleared by the charge, so our healer can dispel immediately, minimizing the damage that the group's going to be taking. So Walks notices that it's on him before it even goes out. He's able to run out and get dispelled immediately still, but still clear bombs. So this is probably one of our worst bomb sets here, only because they're kind of like spread out kind of awkwardly. Carrot's going to jump out, and then we know where the last one is, so I'm going to roll out to it. I'm Transcendence linked to CL, so when the boss finally charges me, I'm able to port back, maintaining melee uptime, and then I can eventually provoke Bront over using Hasty Provocation. I didn't in this case, but generally that's what I like to do, is if Bront's ever far away, just cast Provocation. He's going to run back faster, keeping you and allowing you to maintain like a stacked, 2 stacked bosses for a little bit better uptime, I guess. I don't even know what I'm trying to say at this point. So kind of same thing here. Walks knows it's on him. He's going to pre-move out, get dispelled immediately, and come back. I'm going to position Bront so that this charge, regardless, will clear this bomb. And so then CL goes really far. It was a good play. And then Carrot is going to heroic leap to clear the last 2 bombs. Now that they're cleared, I'm going to back out of melee just a little bit. I have a world marker down so my melee DPS know. They're going to move to the opposite side, and we're going to maintain not only uptime, but make sure that the boss comes back quicker to keep the stacks. And that's pretty much it. Not too much to this fight. There's a couple of tricks you can do in terms of like if you miss a bomb, or if you like want to kill Quick Fuse because she's extra low, but you don't want Bront to just instantly like start killing your tank. There's like, you can wait for certain spell queuing, but I'm not going to be able to really showcase that here because I think we end up just like killing him. So he's going to charge, Kara's going to jump out, get a nice little like 3 bomb clear here. I know that it's going to be on me. I'm going to go and melee him, and then I'm going to roll out to the bomb. And at this point, I'm going to make the decision, because Keys is at like 4% health or something. I'm just going to keep him in the middle of the room until she leaps. She'll either leap to me or leap to purple. We know this is a fact, because she plays in the 3 corners. And then we're simply just going to like, once they're stacked, we'll just Touch of Death her, and it'll be fine. So she jumps over to purple. I'm going to get them stacked. I'm going to target Quick Fuse. I'm going to land a Touch of Death to get extra damage to finish off this boss. He's going to wall at me once or twice, but things like Celestial Brew, Dampen Harm, Stagger alone is really good here too. Like, I never really am that scared of Bront when he's enraged. All right, pulls over. So we have 2 people who are assigned to clearing the kind of RP elements up here. I'm going to roll down along with Walks, who's going to go get that crate that we missed. I'm going to paralysis one of the diver packs because I want them to like be in a better spot for us. And then I'm waiting until we're about at 14 stacks. Once I'm at 14 stacks, I am pulling. I'm not waiting any longer so I can keep Kazan, so our group can keep Kazan. And we're going to use this pull to basically build back up to like ideally the 18, 19 mark. Now, CL was farming back a Vanish there. He then grappled out, started the RP, and then grappled back in. So he didn't lose. He lost a good bit of uptime, but not anything too crazy. So we're able to get the RP started without wasting too much time. We were also far enough away, so when Swamp Face actually spawned, that we weren't getting knocked everywhere, which has wiped us in 20s before. So we're very careful about where we stand now. And we're all assigned each to one of these kelps. So we're calling out kind of AoE CC, so it's like Leg Sweep first, then it's Cap Totem, then it's Knock, then it's Blind, then it's Shockwave. And as we see fit, if we need to, we can single target CC, like using Paralysis, using Stormbolt, using Gouge, things like that, to prevent the Jettison Kelps, and then obviously we're all kicking. So now at this point, we are pulling divers onto Swamp Base. So this is where the dungeon gets a little bit spicy, a little bit hairy. So the idea here is that there's going to be 3 divers, which all need harpoons to be kicked, and obviously all of the same boss mechanics. This is mostly for us to save time. Again, like I've said before, it's going to give our warrior a little bit of like additional boss damage by getting more haste because of the in for the kill talent. The divers, on the other hand, are always going to be dropping bombs. As long as they're dropping bombs away from us, we don't care when they drop them. But if they're ever spawning bombs like during this phase, or like at a kind of a pivotal moment in the fight, will leg sweep, will cap, will knock to delay that cast, or ring of peace or something. So as long as we're getting kicks, we're good. Another benefit about doing this is I'm going to be able to use Touch of Death to get me more boss damage by using Fatal Touch. So we're looking good at this point. We're just now doing the fight per kind of usual. In a little bit, I'm going to pull in the other set of divers that will, again, allow us to just cleave them down naturally. We don't really have to think too much about divers. It's a couple extra melee attacks. It's a couple of kicks. But this boss is already kind of a training dummy. At least for us in a melee comp, we're very tanky. Our shaman is very efficient at group healing like this when we're all stacked. So we're not really sweating it too much. Don't disrespect the divers, by the way, because when the sludge fist comes out, or sludge claw, it's going to leave a healing absorb on you. And especially as a Brewmaster monk, you either want to be able to remove that immediately, or you, you need to basically remove it immediately, or those auto attacks from the divers can prove to be lethal. So we're pulling them away from the bombs. We let them go off there after a couple of CCs. Now we're kicking harpoons. The mobs are going down again. Unfortunately, I don't have Touch of Death this time, but I'm going to be able to use it later towards the end of the fight. Now we are short like 0.4% count or something like that. There were contractors I could have pulled in earlier. I could have also pulled gators onto Demolition Duo. That's another option. But what we end up doing is we pull one extra crab in a little bit on Swamp Face just to finish up our count. It's going to die towards the end of the fight, but we're going to be able to, again, like I said before, we're able to knock it so it doesn't blow up at all. So it's super, super safe to do. Now, at this point in the fight, it's a little weird because I know that the fight's going to go down within the next minute, minute and a half. So I either have to use defensives now, like Dampen or Fortifying Brew, which actually is already on cooldown, or I need to hold it for the next pull, because the next pull is going to be pretty scary. We're going to get into the pull pretty quickly, and there's a lot of initial damage from inspectors, from the Spark Slam guy. I don't remember actually, I forgot the name of them. And as well as the electrician. So there's a lot of burst damage in the next pull, so I do need to be careful with some of my defensives here. I don't want to like throw them at these sludge claws because I don't want to die. Now, crabs, funnily enough, are really scary for the tank. Those pinch casts can do very, very high damage, and I got a little nervous there because it happened right after the Sludge Claw, so I thought I could have potentially died there, but luckily I had a nice big Celestial Brew. I'm getting ready for the Ring of Peace to knock. It gets connected right here, right as it dies, and we don't have to deal with the debuff. So this is good. If it went off here, there's a chance we could have wiped. So that play, not to glaze myself, because the shaman could have also done it too, or I guess chicken, but he was obviously focused on healing, so landing that ring meant that we didn't take that extra damage, which removed that wipe condition from this boss, which is very good. And with Swamp Face going down, we have roughly 9.5 minutes, a little more, to make the rest of the dungeon happen. And so we have basically 3 pulls. We're going to use that time to rebuild our Kazan stacks. And we have a Shroud Skip here, so this is how it works. So going into the next season, the strategy that we're about to do will not be necessary because Bubbles no longer exists. But in this case, we will be doing a rogue skip here, utilizing the Shaman's water walking ability. So he is currently applying water walking to all of us, and then we get the Shroud active while triggering the Bubbles RP. And then by placing a Wind Rush, we're actually going to be walking directly underneath the bridge, which actually won't trigger the Spectral Sight of Bubbles. So all we're doing is we're walking around, and then we're walking up this set of stairs here, pulling the jump starter as well as the patrol plus the far pack. We get a Ring of Peace, I get a paralysis on the one electrician, and then we are off to the races. Now, unfortunately, we missed the kick there, so this electrician didn't come in right away. Now, this is one of the harder pulls to get set up because it's just such an awkward camera angle to play on this like middle platform here that's in the water. But with some decent control with kicks, as well as watching these frontals from the inspectors, we are able to actually live this pull just fine. As a tank, I'm really looking out for these Spark Slam casts from these jump starters. I'm committing things like Dampen Harm, Celestial Brew, Diffuse Magic. They are nature damage, so you can mitigate most of the damage just using any of those tools. Now, unfortunately, we weren't really targeting the electrician. So the other electrician is still CC'd out. Normally what happens is once it's low, I'll chain it in as if we focus it, but we weren't really focusing it here. So I'm going to knock it in now, and we're going to awkwardly kind of mess with this like single target electrician for a little bit. Once everything starts to go down, we're going to slowly just start making our way to the next pole. We still have about 8 minutes left in the key, so we're still feeling very good. We have 2 more poles, and it's going to give us some time to get our Kazan stacks going. So I'm heading forward to get the soldier and the contractor and bring it back to the electrician so we have at least 3 target cleaves so we can get the pole started, but we're going to end up just walking with this guy, and the electrician will eventually go down. So we're going to then be taking these soldiers into these double inspectors here, and then we're going to be heading up into the double electrician jumpstarter pole, giving us 7 targets to hit. So this is going to be perfect for our outlaw rogues, and we're going to be primarily focusing either the electricians or the jumpstarter. The big thing here is just, again, watching out for awkward frontals whenever these swirls do spawn from the jumpstarter every 4 seconds or so. So if the frontals happen to line up, you just need to send some type of CC. We have access to Lake Sweep, Shockwave, Blinds, as well as Thunderstorm. So we do our best to lock them down. Honestly, I think most people in this group, if they do get clipped by the frontal, it shouldn't kill them with feint. But our warrior and our shaman definitely need to be careful of the two. This comp is definitely just like an even cleaving kind of comp. We don't really have good like sustained like funnel damage or priority damage. So this jump starter is still going to be very healthy by the time the pull actually ends. And then finally, once this pack goes down, we are heading into the last set of double jump starters. Now we have opted to pull these mostly because we are running 4 Kazans. Now this pack is dangerous, and there's definitely a world where you can skip these by using Shadow Meld. I've gone over those in previous videos. I think this might be more of a play next season, especially since the Shadow Meld potions will exist. But for us, we decided that we'd rather use this pack to ramp up our Eye of Kazan, not to drop while doing the skip, so we can go into boss with those, despite the healer maybe being a little bit lower on mana. One thing that we're also doing is we're moving into the boss room slowly every time these circles spawn, and what this will do is it'll force the RP to start, and it'll put us closer to the boss, so when our shaman decides to sit down and drink, we're not going to lose as many stacks. In the upper right hand corner of my screen, I just hit 19 stacks of that Kazan trinket, which means that we're going to be probably going to this boss fight with 20 stacks, which means we're going to have a lot of agility, which is better survivability, and just more damage all around. So with 1 jump starter left, our shaman can kind of chill a little bit on his mana bar. He is going to sit to drink for a couple of seconds here. We're going to lose maybe 2 or 3 stacks, but then I'm going to end up pulling Giesel when he is sitting down to drink. Now we do have to be a little careful at the start of the pull here because our shaman is still drinking. So he was trying to get as much mana as possible. So feints were committed. Obviously feint is not a long CD, so they're able to keep really high uptime of it. But committing defensives at the start helped us live through that so our shaman can get mana. And now the rest of the fight is just the same old kind of song and dance. We're going to get knocked back from this Thunder Punch. We're going to use the generator to counter said knockback. We also have Transcendence, which can counter the blow as well. So if I'm ever in like an awkward position where I won't get hit into a wall, and then obviously for the Giga Zaps, they're spreading, and then Leaping Sparks, I like to try to move to a corner where they kind of get trapped between a bunch of pools, and then we go to the far side of the room, and you can speed up the boss by using Provoke. Now there is, we actually cleared up that Leaping Sparks pretty quickly. There's some later on that are a little goofy. Right there you saw Threat drop for a second. That's because I used Shadow Meld to actually completely negate the Thunder Punch. So I didn't have to take damage. I just noticed that I didn't really have any defensives available outside of Diffuse. I guess I also had Fort. So I like to meld as often as I can. It's like every 4th Thunder Punch you can meld it, or after every 4. They're about 30 seconds apart or so. And with Meld being a 2-minute cooldown, you can actually utilize it, which means that I would imagine that the Night Elf Potion next season should work as well. I guess that's something I might have to test on PTR. And then with Giga Zap, we are just trying to spread here. A couple things that rogues can do that's really cool is Giga Zap will always shoot at the furthest player So if everyone stacks in melee and a rogue stands a little bit further out, they can actually use Cloak of Shadows to totally mitigate the blow. So on this set of Leaping Sparks, we got a little unlucky. We have 2 that are coming into melee, so I'm trying to kind of kite the boss around so melee don't really have to think about it. But luckily, I believe it was Walks just ended up going far because we just were, in a bad spot. Next, I think this is the 3rd turbocharge is coming out. The next one we're going to have our 4th and final Lust of the Dungeon for. So this is the turbocharge that we have to be careful of. We do commit Rally. Feint was also committed. Rogues are going to be super, super healthy here. The only person that our healer really has to worry about is our warrior and himself. One other thing that we're kind of banking for in this fight is that our Shaman Chicken doesn't get targeted too many times. Shamans can be really tanky against this using things like Astral Shift. But once Shamans are out of defensives, they're very squishy. Or they're in danger, because their single target healing is kind of like slow, I guess. So here we are kind of in the corner again of the room, baiting the Leaping Sparks the best we can. We have a nice couple puddles next to us. I'm going to do my best here to try to kite the boss away near a puddle. So our DPS can kind of just walk through. Unfortunately, it was our warrior who had to run far out. He's going to stay far out. And that's it. One thing I am doing is after that second Gigazap per each phase, I am trying to move the boss a little bit towards the center of the room, and this allows our warrior to charge the boss when he leaps, giving him a little bit more rage economy. I think this is more important for arms than fury, which is good, but it's just a small little kind of gain that we can provide our DPS. So Lust is rolling at this point. We're kind of annihilating the boss here. This is going to be one of the last Thunder Punches we're going to have to deal with. I have melded twice at this point in the fight, and then I'm really just cycling defensives and things like Celestial Brew. This fight isn't really that crazy for a Brewmaster. I don't know how other tanks fare on this fight. I know my Prot Warrior generally is like okay, like my Prot Warrior doesn't sweat too much with this encounter. But I feel like some tanks actually kind of struggle with the Turbo Blast, or the Thunder Punch. And so this is an awkward corner to be in, but I definitely am trying to get my puddle to, or my Leaping Spark into one of these corner puddles. But then this is where it gets awkward, is that we're kind of like in this like weird like little ramp corner. So luckily no one got clipped there. And now with less than a minute remaining, we are going to finish off Giesel Gigazap. We're going to commit Touch of Death. We're spamming it. And he goes down with 47 seconds remaining. 0 deaths on the board, which was super nice. Really happy with this run. We definitely can make improvements. I don't think we'll be doing a 21 Floodgate this season. This run was already pretty spectacular for the US region as well as world. So really happy with my group and the guys I was playing with in this run. So GG's, and yeah, that's it. Let me know if you have any questions. This dungeon will be returning next season, so definitely keep an eye out. Definitely worth practicing and taking notes in. There's a couple of changes. There's like a couple of packs that are changing next season as well. But for the most part, count is staying the same. Bosses are staying the same. Big Mama's getting nerfed. All around really good changes. Anyways, thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.